Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Crossroads with Cam, the show about life and the journey of faith. Today I have with me one of my good friends, Taso. Welcome to the show, man.
What's up, Camden? How you doing, brother?
Good, man. So today we're going to talk about, with you guys, finding faith in everyday life, because sometimes we get busy and we get burnt out. It was something what we were just talking about off camera, is getting burnt out. That's kind of what life is. You know, there's ups and
For sure.
downs, and there's so many things that when there's so many things in our mind at once, we get burnt out. We feel those feelings. So I want to talk about that today and how faith plays a part in it. So thanks for coming on, man.
For
First,
sure.
though, before we get into that, I want to ask you about your journey a little bit, just about your faith journey and how you just are doing and where you started and where you are now.
So, man, where I started, that was a long time ago, but I do remember it. I remember every moment of it. So I started, man, I think I was in sixth grade. Sixth grade. I was just attending a small group. Shout out Eamon Cushion, Will Miller, Bryce Larkin, Noah Davis, Griffin Trotweiler. They were all in that small group. And I was just I didn't really expect anything. I was just hanging out with them, and then just a moment, like I was just like, oh, like what's the Holy Spirit? And all, I was just asking questions.
Right.
But yeah, we were all just hanging out, and I was asking questions, and then all of a sudden, like, oh yeah, shout out Clinton Stacy too. He was praying for me. Like right then and there, they all put their hands on me and like just like, you know, prayed for me. And then like when I got home, like I've had this overwhelming feeling. I was like crying and on my knees, like just like wow, like I didn't realize like how real this is. And the Holy Spirit overwhelmed me. And man, yeah, just thinking about it is crazy because like it's like a feeling I don't know how to describe, but it's not human, it's not normal. And it was really just like kind of, what's the word, eye-opening. And from that on forth, it's definitely been, I'm gonna be honest, it's been a bumpy road, just in general, like not like through the whole way, but it's been a bumpy road. Definitely have gone off track like spiritually. But more recently, it's just been a lot more just in the right direction.
Good.
I've honestly, I had to go through the hard way and like really just get in the trenches, right? I had to go through a spiritual trench and get stuck. And I had to learn the hard way that like you cannot go through life without Jesus. You cannot accomplish anything without Jesus. And the skills you have and the work ethic, just in general, like the skills you have are from him, right? And because of him, you are functioning in whatever like endeavors you are trying to work towards. Like with me, it's like my podcast, my personal brand that I'm working on. Like with you, it's like your multiple podcasts that you got a lot of stuff going on, right? And it's like, but we've all been blessed with those skills because of him. Like he created us into this amazing, like he's created us individuals in these crazy times we live in, now. But anyway, journey. So
no, that's good. I want to bring up something that you said.
Go ahead.
Your journey has been rocky a little bit.
Yeah.
We need to talk about that more because I think there's a misconception in the Christian community with church. I think it's just kind of when you go to church, you expect everyone to be in their best behavior, right? But it's not like that in real life. Like real life is up and down. And that's why we need Jesus. Like you were saying, it opened your eyes to see that you needed him. And that's how I was too. I started the same way in a small group, in a youth group. And then, life comes at you quick. You grow up and you get real issues going on. And it's like, whoa, I can't do this on my own. I need someone greater. And that's where faith comes in. There's a Bible verse that says, rejoice in your sufferings because they produce endurance and give you a chance for your faith, a chance to grow. And that's exactly what we're talking about. It is a journey. And I love that you brought that up because no, it's not perfect. None of us are perfect.
Definitely
it's
not,
never
man.
Gonna be. It's a journey, just like you said. We're going to get into your stuff, like a podcast and what you're doing a little bit later. But
that's fine,
yeah. So with your journey, just going back a little bit, what you said there was a moment where you had like that eye-opening moment. What was that? I know you said it was supernatural. Where did that come from, do you think?
Where did it come from? Well, definitely it came from, power of prayer. But it was the Holy Spirit, like 100%, like no question in my mind about it. it was just like a feeling of like almost like you are loved, like
Mm.
I am real, like I am here. Um, I just want you to like speaking to me, like I just want you to know that I am here for you and know that I am with you on this journey, and all I want is you to want me back, almost
Wow.
like a
Yeah.
relationship, right? And like I said, it's definitely been a bumpy road, but overall we are on the right track. Like I have my days, right? We are not all perfect at all.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, everyone, and the problem is social media. Like that's the biggest problem. Like social media just completely throws off how
Easy to get
everyone
off
is
track.
doing,
Yeah.
and like how like, oh, we're supposed to be having a perfect life. I'm supposed to be rich. I'm supposed to be this and that. Like that is completely not it. I mean, like I said, I have had my days, but that was the biggest feeling that I got from that.
That's
And
awesome.
then from that moment, I became a leader in Fusion at the time. It was called Fusion,
Yeah.
with Mike Perea, who's pastor at the time for that. And I mean, it was an incredible experience. I got off track like right in sophomore year of high school. Like ever since sophomore year of high school, it just hasn't been the same. Just deterred away from Jesus, deterred away from the church, and just kind of like shut everyone out. Um, and obviously, it was nothing personal. It was just more of, uh, you know, the human flesh
Yeah.
getting in the way at the end of the day. So, however, I'm grateful for that experience because you know what? Sometimes people need to get um, a reality check and
Mm-hmm.
like hit in the face kind of moment where it's like, okay, like I can't do this on my own, right?
That's good.
But yeah,
Yeah. And one thing you said is a relationship. One thing with church is it's 1 day a week, usually for adults. You go on Sundays and then you go back to your normal life. But if you think about a relationship like a human, like if you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend, you cannot have a thriving relationship if you only talk to them 1 day out of the week, right?
right,
I think it's the same with our faith. Like we have to take it home with us, and it's kind of got to become your lifestyle, because a lot of people don't, like, it's not a bad thing that they go to church and that's it. They
right,
just, it's an important thing. It's like it's a priorities thing.
yeah,
When you realize, yes, I need to go to church, but it's not just to check off that box. It's to hear and be spoken into from a pastor, someone, and to worship the Lord. But then when you go in your life, it's also worshiping the Lord. Everything you do, we have gifts, we have talents. We're all part of the body of Christ. We all have different um, strengths. Like you
yeah,
and me like to go on and have these shows and stuff. But we were given the ability to do that because we're a part of the kingdom of God, and everyone has a part to play. When did you start to realize where you fit in? And I'm still working on where I am too. It's an ongoing journey. But where did you start to realize what you wanted to do?
Well, so this started after high school. I would say even during high school, I started selling Cutco knives. You don't know, it's like really expensive knives. Like
Mm.
it's a um almost like a they used to do door to door, but this is like during COVID, right? I went through a really bad breakup. Kind of
Mm.
crazy. I went through a bad breakup, and I just convert. And one of my close friends, Anthony Salerno, he and like, hey, like I'm selling these Cutco knives, like they're forever guaranteed, whatever, and I've been doing really well with it. And like he's like, you should do it. I'm like, I don't know, like I don't know about sales, right? And then I tried it, and immediately I took off, like sold tens of thousands of dollars worth of knives, got into a leadership position with that, and just figured out I am a people person. I am
Mm.
outgoing. I love talking to people, love selling, and going on from there, I was with that company for 3 years. Then I went into solar. This was like a year after I graduated, so like 2022. I would say late 2021 through 2022, I sold solar. And during this time, also, I was away from kind of like just Jesus. I
Yeah.
was away from that. Like I wasn't really focused on that. And that was kind of like the hiccup I had in the road, right, or the journey so far. But had great success there too. Made a lot of money, and that's when at the time I was really obsessed with money. Like all my heart was thinking about was money.
Mm.
That's all my mind was thinking about was money. Which, in a sense, there's nothing wrong with that to a certain extent, right? Because I was relying on money to make me happy, and like one a month, I had a crazy month, man. I made like one month I made like 20 grand, almost 20 grand, which is nuts, right?
Yeah.
But even then, like even months into that, me even months having sense of financial freedom, I still wasn't happy. I was still unfulfilled. And then I went to food and gained a whole bunch of weight,
Mm.
right? Because I was like giving me the dopamine. It was making me happy, right? And then, obviously I went back to the gym, worked out, got all that, crap off, got that baby weight, whatever love handles that love. Uh, but no, anyway, kind of getting off track, but was in that for 2 years and then tore my ACL, my meniscus, which
Mm.
I was like really devastated. I was living in Orlando at the time, but this was a year and some change, like a couple months, 3 months ago, year and 3 months ago, I tore it. Had surgery, had to come back home, had to quit my job, had to use like all my savings to, provide expenses,
Mm.
pay for stuff, pay for bills. And I was really in a dark place, like mentally, spiritually, just everything. I mean, I just felt like the world was on my shoulders, felt like everything I worked for was gone. Um, and I was just like, Lord, like, what am I gonna do? Like, I am absolutely like, I have no idea what I'm gonna do. Am I gonna go, sell cars or some stupid? Nothing wrong with that, but I just that's it's tell you what, a lot of hours you have to put in.
Yeah.
Anyway, uh, I was just I had no idea what my purpose was.
Mm.
However, moving on to the next point, I kind of I know I kind of got off track here, but then I met my boy Danny. I've known him for a while, but I knew he was starting a podcast talking about soccer. And I hit him up. I was like, "Hey man, like I like what you're doing, but like I know I can make this a lot better. Like I can edit audio. At the time, I didn't even know how to edit videos, but I can edit audio. Like I can, make it look better, like camera wise and stuff like that." And he said, "Yeah, let's do it."
You know what's
So we
funny
yeah, go
is
ahead.
is you know what's funny is looking back, it like when we're talking about it, you in the moment you were probably like, "Whoa, I'm going here," and then I tear my
Yeah,
ACL. I'm in this dark place, and then this and this. But when you look back and see, maybe that had to happen for you to get to here
exactly, exactly.
right now. Because what if you wouldn't have been able to do what you're doing now if that hadn't happened?
Never would have gotten in video editing. Never would have gotten good at, I would say, even content creating, like just getting that experience of like knowing how to make a video, knowing how to deliver a hook, excuse me, knowing how to deliver a message clearly.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty. I never, I'll tell you this, I never would have thought, because I've also, I'm working through Starbucks right now as well. So that's where Starbucks came into play. They're paying for my tuition. So I'm going to school for video editing, graphic design.
Awesome.
And I met this guy named Ryan Hamilton, or AKA Hammy TV, and we hit it off. I'd even like, I kind of knew who he was. Like I knew, he had a large social media following, like 20 million followers across the board, like across all the socials, nuts, right?
Jeez.
Really like genuine dude. Like I just treated him like the way he should be treated, like a human being, not like, oh my God, you're famous. Oh, give me this, give me that. Like, nah, like just like however I would talk to someone else, right? And he told me, oh, like DM me. And long story short, like I work with him a little bit here and there. And I've been in a few of his skits. Like there's a skit where uh so basically he wore a sign on his back like "Kiss me, it's my birthday." And I gave him like a quick peck on the cheek, and I walked away. And I had like 40 people message me like, "Yo, is this real?" Like that.
Oh my
And
god.
then like uh, and yeah. So anyway, it's just I would have never met him, because like he's now kind of like just a really good person in my life that I definitely need. And like I said, really good dude. But to your point, none of this stuff would have happened if I never had that injury. And it's almost like it was meant to happen, because also through that injury, I learned like my muscles won't grow back
Mm.
unless I hit the gym, do leg day, right? Even though we all hate leg day, but we got to do it.
Discipline.
Yeah, exactly. And believe me, I have my days, man. I have my days where I didn't do stuff, right? Like we're all human, but it's important to learn from those lessons and learn that nothing will happen um, unless you actively work on it.
Yeah.
Nothing will grow unless you actively work on it.
Yeah, you have to water things for it to grow. Like that's
Yeah.
how the world works in nature, and that's how the world works in everything.
Yeah.
One thing is sometimes I think it takes feeling completely empty and messed up
Oh, yeah.
to understand what you really need. Like it doesn't if everything was always good all the time and on this earth it's not. We know that. But if it
Right.
was, it would be hard for us to see what was actually important. Like you were talking about money and like what you went to. There's nothing that can fill the hole in your heart that God does.
Yeah.
But sometimes we have to be put in those situations to like realize that. So I've been through, like we all have whatever we go through.
Yeah.
That was one of your things. Um, I think we can always learn what God was trying to do after it happens, and sometimes it's like it doesn't make sense in our heads.
No.
But God thinks in different ways. Like his thoughts are higher than our thoughts, and so it's just amazing. I think to see when you look back and be like, wow.
I'm honestly, because when I started the podcast, it was like 11. This is almost, yeah, it's like 11 months ago, almost 11 months ago, and it's like to me, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like, I never would have thought I would have had a podcast like in general. Like I love podcasts. I love watching podcasts. Shout out Joe Rogan. Love watching Joe Rogan. But I just never would have thought I would have had my own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's becoming even something bigger. We're diversifying and all that stuff. And I'm gonna start doing my own personal stuff as well. Cool. And it's like now I have all these different skills. Now I'm going to school for, this kind of industry. So I would say it's just in the moment it may suck, right? But everything does, like kind of like you said, like everything does happen for a reason, and we have to go through these we have to embrace the suck, really.
Yeah.
We have to embrace the suck, and we have to go through it and take it as a lesson and just move on from it. And also I realized that, like, man, like, all right, I see the plan now. It's kind of like now it's like Jesus is unraveling the plan, like, slowly,
Yeah,
right?
even if it's like one thing, you're like, okay,
Yeah,
that kind of makes sense now. Like I've been through last episode. It was my first time actually talking about what happened with me. Like I was in flight school for a whole semester, and
I remember.
I thought that's what I was gonna do. Like I was like,
yeah,
I'm gonna go be a pilot, and I'm gonna travel the world and make a lot of money. But there was a feeling that I got after a few months, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. It just wasn't what I was supposed to do. There was this feeling that I got was like, the only way I can describe it is like crippling anxiety. Like there was nothing I could do to get this feeling out of me. And so what I did was I just went on a run and played worship music. I just ran, and I was like crying. I just ran one day at night in the evening. And God just spoke to me. He's like, I had to bring you through this to show you that I have bigger plans and I have different purposes for you. And if I hadn't gone through that, I wouldn't know what that feeling is. It's discernment. And so every time I go through something now, I realize God is going to teach me something through it. And even though I had a whole semester where I got it was expensive, and it was a whole experience. I'm grateful because of what I learned from how God speaks to me. And so I don't know, there's always something to learn. And one thing you just said about looking back now, one quote that I used to really love, and I actually spoke it in a message once. It was, you never see the purpose of the storm until you see the growth it produces. Because in the moment, it's like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
But then after you kind of see, that's not just me. There's something greater working right now.
Yeah. And I'll tell you this, man. Like, I didn't understand, like, all of this stuff until I turned, like, 21. It's kind of, like, weird, but, like, I feel like my brain was just not developed, and I was so immature. And, like, now I'm, I got, like, 3 more months till I'm 22, which is nuts. I can't believe I'm 22. But anyway,
I know time
feel like
weird.
I truly started understanding things when I turned to that age, and, like, man, like, that all that other stuff doesn't matter. Like, it matters, like, like what your passion is, and the path you're on in life, and through Jesus, and just embracing it and going through it and living it, right? Yeah. And instead of just watching TV, scrolling, playing video games, all that dumb stuff, it's just a distraction. It's like, it is Satan's greatest creation, honestly, because I look back and I'm like, dang, I wish I grew up in the times where this stuff did not exist.
I know, I think about that too.
Because it's like, it is bad. Like, in a controlled environment, even then, it's like, it's not necessarily doing anything for you. Like Andrew Tate, I know there's a lot of hate on Andrew Tate, whatever.
Escape
But
the
like,
Matrix.
right? Breathe air. No, like it's so stupid. It is a waste of time. Like it means absolutely nothing. Like and like listen, I still play video games sometimes, but there's a time and place for it. Like I have
Yeah.
priorities before I touch that stuff. But um
How did you find these moments like that, like the realizations, even with social media? How did you get to the point where you didn't want to just do that all the time anymore? Because it's easy to get distracted and just be obsessed with it.
like we mean like they're just scrolling
Yeah,
or
just scrolling and consuming. Like, how did
yeah.
you get out of it?
Oh man, how did I get out of that? Honestly, I mean there was a lot that had to happen to be like just within myself. Like I had a journal and like write out my goals and like what I want to do to truly achieve
Mm.
and how what it would take. Truly, I did it because I was bored. I was bored. I was not entertained. So it's like I had to seek something that would entertain me, almost like it's like a drug, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a dopamine drug. So I replaced that with learning how to edit videos, like the podcast. Right, I started the podcast, so my time was consumed by learning how to edit videos, learning how to fine tune audio. Like I had
Mm-hmm.
some experience in editing audio, but I could always be better. Right, there's some always advanced techniques. I spent my time consuming hashtag YouTube University, right? Consuming content, but in a educational way, in a beneficial way for myself, instead of just continuing to scroll,
Mm.
right? Is there some times where I will scroll? Like I would say rarely. I will scroll on pages of like, how do I, I don't know, just like going viral or like how to edit a certain way. Like I'll watch those people and I will scroll on those people all day because it's like I'll take notes of stuff.
Which is not
Just
a bad thing though. That's it
exactly
can
no.
also be used for good. I think it's just
Yeah,
too much of anything
yeah,
is bad,
yeah.
destructive. And
It's yeah,
something with
it,
our generation, Gen Z, is
yeah,
we lack purpose because of
mm,
all this stuff. So when you like you're saying when you're bored, it's just the first thing to think of. But there's so much more to life than that. It's just so hard to get out of that slump. I feel like sometimes, especially
yep,
when you're anxious or depressed, like when you have these problems, it's like it feels like an escape, but it really is just pushing you into this hole. It just
yeah,
in the moment it feels like you're getting out of it, but you're really just digging an even deeper hole.
yeah. And I started actually. So I had all those things. Like I was see. I'm very like the way I think about depression is controversial. There are some forms of like serious like people have some serious like depression. What is it? I forgot the word, but like there's some like PTSD,
Mm.
like I mean there's some crazy type of depressions I know. I forget the terms, but there's some that are 100% real, right? However, my depression came from me not being productive and me being like kind of bored and just not working towards something in life.
Mm.
Like really that's where it came from for me. Like that's when I was so sad, and when I started working towards something and like actually trying to fulfill my purpose in life, once I kind of figured that out, I mean all that stuff went away. Now I feel depressed when I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do.
Wow.
When I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do, that's when anxiety kicks in, depression, because it's like you're feeling the stress of that because you're supposed to be working on whatever it is you're working on, spiritually, mentally, physically, financially, whatever. I would feel those things when I wouldn't work on them.
Yeah. And we talked
Very
we
simple.
talked about Andrew Tate. You mentioned him. He has he has a pretty good take on that. And
Yeah.
is he a perfect role model? No,
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 man.
he's
No
not.
one's yeah,
No
no.
one is.
Definitely
But
not.
he has great points in that
Yeah. The truth
your
hurts.
circumstance is what
Yeah.
creates your depression. And in a lot of cases, not every
Yeah.
case like you said, but most cases it's what is your life like and how can you change it? Because
Yeah.
once you like get out of it and see like God has way bigger plans for me than just sitting
Yeah.
here in this like sad state. That's why I'm such a big advocate of moving your body, because when you move your body, it wakes up your mind.
Yeah.
It's all connected. I swear. It's a God created our body as the temple of the Holy Spirit, and when you don't move it, your mind's gonna be messed up too.
100%. And this is like my favorite quote ever. A bored mind is the devil's workshop.
Mm.
It is such a fact because then you get thoughts of lust,
I was gonna
right?
say, yeah, when you're bored.
Lust, right? Scrolling, that's another thing. Eating, like really like binge eating, right? Um,
Even
and I would,
alcohol and drugs
yeah,
too.
alcohol and yeah, those are some other serious things that people fall into. But yeah, it's like it is unfortunate, but it's true. The bored mind is the devil's workshop. And believe me, I don't want to say I'm perfect. I have it figured out because I'm not. I have my days where I struggle, um, but I'm actively working on it because we are coddled. Our generation is coddled, including myself. I was coddled,
Me too.
right? However, I, you know, figured it out at was on 21 and three 21 and was 3/4. I don't know. I'm not good with English. Anyway, uh, at my age, I'm glad I figured out at the age I'm at because there's people that still haven't figured it out right
Hmm.
now, and they're just constantly distracting themselves with the things of this world, like
Yeah,
the sins of the world, whatever you want to call it, right?
it can get worse, like the more serious problems for the same kind of reasons. Because if you look at what alcohol or drugs is, it's altering your state of
Yeah,
mind. And so if you're not in a good state, you're gonna look at other things like that of the world, things that can change that temporarily. It feels right, but it's a path of the devil, like you were talking
yeah,
about. He wants us to overdo all of this. I
yeah,
mean, if you just think about his goal, the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. If you
yeah.
take your mind, if he alters your mind, then you can destroy everything. Like
Where do you
that's
think?
that's
Yeah,
the first thing.
where do you think negative thoughts come from? Where do you think like, oh, I can't do this? Like, oh, I don't know if I should do this.
Exactly.
Like, in the right environment, like, uh, it's just it's something that like I said, I finally realized at my age now. It's like, oh crap, like this is what that means. Those thoughts are what those that's what that means. Okay. And also it's our own thoughts, right? Everyone's self-conscious. Everyone's like kind of like a negative mindset. Like those are habits,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like imagine someone who's been drinking for a long time, for 30 years. Like that's a 30-year-old habit that you've been doing
Yeah.
every single day. Or if it's like uh porn addiction. Like that's a habit that you're building every single day. It keeps getting harder and harder to break because you keep doing it,
Yeah.
right? And then it's harder to get rid of, right? It's like ingrained into your soul to a point where it's like, okay, like I need to fight this a lot harder now,
Mm-hmm.
right? But at the same time, like you see how I think like, oh, is this harder now because it is a long-term habit that I've been doing, right? Everything is in your mind at the end of the day. Everything is in your mind. Your mind does not have control of your body. It's you versus you at the end of the day with
Mm-hmm.
everything. And like I said, I'm not perfect. I still struggle with a lot of things. Believe me, like these last few weeks, man, I've probably been the most unproductive. Like I haven't been doing content stuff. I've just been focused on school, and it's like feeling burnt out. Like believe me, I have my own struggles and I go through a lot of crap. And I'm sure, you do too, and like everyone else does in the world.
Yeah.
And you just gotta put social media down too. I know I'm kind of going all over the place, but there's just so much, and it's just crazy. Like it's just how like society is and how we've been kind of shaped up to be by social media in a sense, by the way we've grown up, our environment, and like here we are.
If you think about it, we're the first generation that's ever had to grow up with social media. Like
Yeah,
we grew up as our minds were changing, we got this thing, that changed the world. It's everywhere
yeah.
now, and now there's even AI, which is a whole another conversation. But
I'll tell you what,
it's
AI, I do like in a sense, like there's some things I'll use it for,
yeah,
like
me too. It's
yeah,
good. It's
it's
good,
good.
but like social media is good in some ways too. I'm just saying that
Yeah, for sure.
it's such a different world now because of it, and our minds are definitely the first thing to be impacted by it because I mean, anybody. If you go back in generations before, they had different things that were changing too, and it
Yeah,
changed everything as well. But for us, I think we have one of like, the youth is one of the most important times of your life because you're changing. So we have one of the most pivotal moments. And I think that's why it's so important to follow and find God.
mm,
Because if you have your priorities straight, then your future is lined up. But if you
Yep.
don't, you could have two different paths that go completely separate. So that's why this show is called Crossroads with Cam, because the crossroads, if you think about it, it's a crucial decision, a point where you have to pick which way you're going to go.
Right.
And so I will say it 10 times out of 10 times. Everything I do now, I'm preaching follow Jesus, because he was the one perfect person. You already said you're not perfect. I'm not perfect. The only perfect person was Jesus. And we have to decide to follow him. And even with all this lust, drugs, alcohol, so like anxiety, all this stuff, it's a daily decision.
Yeah.
You know, we have to wake up and say, God, I want your will to be done and not my own, because I'm selfish. I'm messed up and the devil is trying to get me, but I know you've already won. So I have to put my will down and say, God, whatever you want to do with my life, have it be done.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, like how I've also gotten closer, I've really gotten specific on like what I've done, like sin wise. Like I've gotten very specific. I would think of stuff that like not just like, oh, like what have I done in my life? Like no, like it's like really like specific. Like here's like some of the topics that I've been, doing, right? Like in sinning, right? And getting specific and like just being honest with them, man. Like it's all about like I used to look at it as like, oh, like I need to pray, I need to just talk to him and go to church and all this stuff. But no, it's a relationship. Like it's like how like me and you are friends, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a it is something where you just have to do it because you want to do it in a sense, because like God's just not going to be like, oh, like
He's a gentleman. He's going to
yeah,
wait.
right. He's not going to do it for you,
Yeah.
right? He's not going to just like, hey, like what are you doing, like you man, it's crazy, Cam, because it's something where dude, I have no words, to be honest,
We're a
because
work in progress, though. Like
yeah,
everybody is.
yeah, and to the point, it's just you have to be wanting to do it to a sense of like, okay, I want to have a better life, and I know the only way to do it is through you. Now it's just like us as individuals have to understand that.
Yeah, and it's hard when you picture God as this big
Yeah.
creator of everything. That's why I think it's so beautiful that he came in the form of Jesus, in the form of human flesh, to be so personable, to show us that we're not alone. You know,
Yeah.
he's gone through everything we go through. It says when he was on the cross, he felt more pain than we'll ever feel. Like he felt everything all at once because of all the sin of humanity. If you think about that, it's crazy. But
Yeah.
I think it's so beautiful that God did that, because one, he knew that we needed a savior, but also he wanted to show us in our own form. If you look at the Bible, every time Jesus was like, he was tempted too. He had temptations of all these things, and every time he was tempted, you know what he did? He quoted scripture. He turned to the Bible, the Word. So I think that's why it has to become like a habit. We were talking about habits. That has to be a habit to get in the Word. Not only for you to be like, oh, I'm a good person because I checked it. You know, it's not because of that. It's because it's the defense against the evil spirits, against the devil. The Word, it's actually part of the armor of God. And so when we have that, we have a defense against the enemy.
Yeah. The word is like really the path to life. Like really at the end of the day, it's we go there for answers. There are answers in there. It's just and there's AI to like find those answers, right? That helps you find those answers, which is pretty cool. But I would say, I guess the best advice I would give to anyone that's like, I feel like that feels like they're really struggling right now, like they have no purpose in life. I would say just if you have bad habits, start with that. Start with your habits. Like start very small with something very simple.
Yeah.
Like I know it sounds stupid, but making your bed. Like I made my bed, and like wash my face. Like the smallest things
I need to
ever.
make my bed. I'm still working on that one. I read a book about that. That this Navy SEAL was saying that's one of the most important things you can do.
But it's those small wins that are in your day that are super important, and then they lead to bigger wins, and they lead to bigger wins, and they lead to better habits. It took me 2 weeks of doing those little things to like get a different gear. But I would, yeah, just those small habits and just write out how you're feeling on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Like we have a lot of thoughts that go through our head every single day. And I mean, no wonder why you're stressed. You're thinking about a lot of different stuff, right?
Exactly.
You write it out, it's really not that bad. Like
Yeah.
what, in certain situations, but like it's just your mind playing with you. You need to write it down and like, oh,
Get it out.
this is why I'm feeling like this. So, and I still have days where I don't do it, but like the days I do it, I'll tell you what, I feel a lot better.
Yeah.
But
Let me
it's a
ask you. Let
process.
me ask you a question.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What was the biggest struggle you've had in your faith journey throughout your life? Like, what was the biggest struggle that you had to go through?
The biggest struggle in my faith journey, I would say, honestly, moving away from home and living in Orlando for the year. I just did it, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna do this.
Mm.
Not like I'm gonna do it, but like with God's help, and like I'm gonna do it through Jesus. Like, no, I did this because I want to do it because I was fixated on something else. And did I have a good time up there? 100%. Like there was some good times, but at the same time, that was just like an eye opening for me because it was like here and then right down.
What was it that made it feel like that?
The actions of my everyday life that I was doing,
Mm.
basically, right? When I did go there, like I was in a good spot, like I was in like, ridiculous shape, like I was pushing 255 on the bench, like I was going crazy, right? uh, but then as it got near to like right when my injury happened, like I just felt like everything going to crap, right?
Mm.
That's another thing I got to work on. Cursing, I do, we're all working on it, but we're doing a good job so far. Progress.
Hey, yeah.
But my biggest struggle was I was just so fixated on doing it myself and thinking that money is the only thing that matters and that I don't need Jesus in my
Mm.
life. Um, that I built that habit of thinking that way, and it led me to just unfulfillment, not having purpose, and it gave me depression almost
Mm.
because it's like life is nothing without Jesus in our lives. Like God is so real, man. Like it's just unbelievable. Like it is unbelievable how real it is, and people just deter it off. But like, I mean, it is unbelievable how much I truly understand it now. Like understand just everything in general. Just like, man, this is real. Like this is real, And people, um,
What do you do?
I
What do you do when you have doubts
of like what, like
about
just my
about
faith.
yeah, about your faith?
Honestly, I don't have doubts, man. I really don't. I would say it's not the doubts. It's just making the choice to live that and like live in the right direction and go in the right direction.
Okay, so
You know,
then how? Okay, how? What can you say to people who do have a lot of doubts? Then how do they get out of that? Because even like I do too. But how did you get to the point where you don't?
honestly, Cam, I had to go through the hard way. I had to go through the hard way of just, all right, fine. Um, you know, I'm gonna go live a sinful life, hang out with girls, drink, party, um, and just not live a life through Jesus. And I had to go through that to feel the pain and like that
Mm,
burden I felt of just like life.
it's heavy.
And yeah, and that injury, that when that happened, I was like at a complete low, you
Mm,
know. Um, and I was like, all right, like I can't do this on my own. I can't do this without you. Like, all right, you got me, you know.
wow. So you felt the weight of the world, and you just is that when you had to you knew you had to turn to something bigger than yourself? Because when you said you went to Orlando, you were it was about you, right? It
Yeah,
was like a lot about you
it
and
was
what
just
you're and
the reason why I did it was money. That's
yeah.
why I went to Orlando.
Okay,
Yeah,
so it's not a bad thing, but the one thing I always say is you got to keep the main thing, or else everything else is gonna get all over the place.
Yep.
So was it after that that you really found like the truth about,
Yeah.
I'm not as big as God?
Yeah, and even then, even after that, like I still had challenges. Like, we had a conversation about that.
Yeah.
How I was like getting back into the groove of things. But in my mind, there's a firm understanding that like he is the way of life, and life is absolutely nothing without it and
Mm,
without him. And I understand that he is absolutely real, and everything happens for a reason.
yeah.
So I understand like kind of like embracing the suck nowadays. Like just if something sucks or something just is not going your way, like be okay with it. It's happening for a reason. Like you can ask why it's happening, but sometimes you won't reveal the answer
Yeah.
because you have to learn your lesson, right? You have to learn from mistakes
And
because
he's gonna
without
he's gonna
mistake,
keep showing you the same lesson until you learn from
yeah,
it too.
and like without mistakes, how do we grow? You know,
Exactly. I mean,
um,
that's what I was saying earlier. Every time I've grown, it's been after something was not at the best place in my life.
yeah,
It has to start. You got to learn from yourself, or like God's gonna teach you until you learn it. And it doesn't
yeah,
matter what you're going through, because I know I can't relate to everybody's issues. Like everybody has their own things. I think the most important thing is saying everything is an experience, good or
mm,
bad. Like it's all we're living life right now, and
yeah.
God is greater than the highs and the lows. You ever heard that quote? I love it.
God's greater than the highs and the lows.
Yeah,
I've not heard that quote before.
yeah. Some
I've
people
not.
have this tattoo where it's like God, and then it's a up arrow and then a down arrow because he's greater than the highs and lows. But
Cool.
I just love seeing that sometimes because that shows me that I don't care if I'm like at the top of my life, I have all the money and the fame and whatever.
Yeah.
God's greater than that. Or if I'm at the bottom of the barrel of the worst parts of my life, worst loneliness I've ever felt, God's still greater.
Yeah.
So what's your goal with your, like, to just pivot a little bit, because it's still
Yeah.
good to have goals. Like
Yeah.
it's
No,
not a
of
bad thing to be
course.
successful. That's just
Like
keep
we have skills for a reason, and
exactly.
like I'm skilled in like okay, I'm great at talking to people, which makes me, in a sense, great at talking to a camera, and I've gained the skills through an event that happened in my life that now transitioned to like something even greater that I didn't even realize.
Yeah, it's
Now I
it's
have
just it's
now I
just
have other
about
skills.
I think it's about what you do with what you're given.
Yeah.
And so what is your goal with what you're doing now?
Man, that's crazy. No, like I would say just growing my like I call it a podcast like still, but like it's not just a podcast anymore. It's a brand, right? I want to grow um you know the brand of like our pages, our social media for it's called On the Pitch.
Yeah.
Um but also I do want to grow my personal brand. Like I want to do like I wouldn't say like skits, but like I want to it's not pranks either, but I it's yeah, you ever seen like Impractical Jokers?
Yeah.
Like so in a sense like that, but just I want to have my own personal brand um through social media, and I want to grow um all my pages.
Awesome.
Um that's essentially what I want to do, and also I want to learn from people that are way better than me at it,
Yeah.
which thankfully I met Ryan, aka Hammy TV, and like
Yeah.
he's such a great dude, and like I said, like you also when you get you got to give too,
Mm.
you know, like people aren't just the giving tree,
The
you know what I'm
secret
saying?
to living is giving.
Yeah.
It really is.
So, I always offer to help whenever whatever I can do, even though he's like the goat, right, at what he does. I still try to help in any way I can, if like it's holding a camera or going in a skit with him, or just like doing whatever, like making a little thumbnail, or making a little whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
um but yeah, I would say that's overall what I'm working towards, is just also figuring out, like, I'm still figuring out stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like with personal branding, and like what do I want to be to the world, right? And how am I going to get there? This solution, like I'm working on it every day,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's not ever set in stone. um Things do happen in life, and it's always just best to work on it one day at a time, rather than like, okay, in 10 years I want to do this.
Right.
So it's like one day at a time.
Yeah,
It really is.
I have a mentor that's his name is Mike, and he's one of Tony Robbins' best friend. I met him at my dad's optometry practice. I was like, it was like
Nice.
a connection from Codice, where
There you
he's
go.
a very
Yeah.
devout Christian, but he's also a successful businessman. Like he has a bunch of businesses and he has a lot of money. But he told me the secret to living is giving, and
Hmm.
if a lot of people say like, oh, if I had all that money, I would give a lot, but if you're not willing to give anything of what you have at this point, you're not going to do it when you have
Yeah.
a lot of money. And so he told me the secret to living is giving. You have to give, and God will give you abundantly more than you're asking for. And so,
You can't even realize like what you're about to get to. You're like you think it's just like, oh, it's money. Oh, like no,
no,
it's like
God, yeah, God's like, no,
it's
I'm
more
doing
than that.
more than you think I'm doing. We can't even
It's a
like
life you
we
can't
can't even
imagine.
process it. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's way higher in what he wants to do for us. So I think that's I learned a lot from him in that, and so I'm even
It's cool,
starting to
man.
try to give first 10% right now because I want to do it when I have a lot too.
Yeah. Hey, your network is your net worth.
That's true too.
Yeah.
Yep.
You gotta like, and in general, you gotta like, if you're an introvert, you just stop. Like, you need to stop those habits of being an introvert and scrolling. Like, that's what scrolling happen. Like, it makes you socially awkward.
Yeah.
Um, so what I would do if I were you, I would get a job. I would become a server or something. Like, if you're our age and like, you're still going to school or whatever, you're still doing your own thing, I would get a job and where it requires you to talk to people.
Mm.
Get good at talking to people. Get good at just being just be positive towards people too. Just get out there because you never know who you're gonna meet. Like,
Right.
like God plays a lot of good people in my life, and the connections I've made over the years, it's something that is something that has a price that
Oh, money can't buy.
yeah, you can't buy that.
Yeah, and God works through people. He speaks through people, and I like
Yeah,
everybody I meet and I'm close with. I like to believe that God has either placed them in my life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. Like you have lifetime friends that you're gonna be friends with forever, and you also
yeah,
have people that are temporary that are here to teach you something, and you're here to speak to them. And so yeah, being an outgoing person is not just a personality trait.
yeah.
It's a way to make a difference because
Hmm.
I didn't even I've always been kind of outgoing. That's just been my
Yeah,
personality.
yeah. Same
But
with me.
but
Yeah,
even like if I go into a new place, everybody doesn't like that when you don't know anybody. It's hard at first to talk to people. But
right, for sure. Yeah.
like I feel
No,
that.
yeah, there's some people who are like they have anxiety when they're like in public talking to people. Like,
Yeah,
it's
I
crazy.
think what
You
people
know
need
what I
to
mean?
realize though is that everybody is human. Like
Yeah.
no one's higher than
Hey,
any of us
join a
here.
small group.
Yeah, that's where I met some of the greatest people in my life.
And I would say, to your point, like, I think the question you asked before, like the doubts, like, how did you find your faith?
Yeah.
It was through a small group. That's how
Mm-hmm.
I found it. And I would say, yeah, you're the three people you surround yourself with is who you're gonna become too.
Yeah.
So surround yourself with the right people.
Iron sharpens
Um,
iron.
yeah, and so small groups is that's what I just thought of just randomly. I was like, oh wait, I remember that answer now.
No,
But
no,
yeah,
really, it's true. So
yeah.
with your goals now,
Mhm.
but with what you want to do, what do you do right now to keep your faith involved? Even when like sometimes when I get super busy working on my own stuff, I completely don't even think about God or what He wants. How do you keep it at the center even when you have your own ambitions?
Well, I would say, just, being transparent. Like, I mean, I've definitely had a struggle where I was so obsessed with like at the time, like my podcast stuff, like my schoolwork and um, all the stuff I've been doing. Like, I left no time for reading the word,
Mm.
right? Like, I'm, being honest, like, cause
Yeah.
like I said, I'm not perfect, right? Uh, However, what I had to do was create a routine. Routine is so important for every single person.
Yeah.
You have to have a routine and build a structure once a week that, okay, this day is going to be for this or this and that, but also I'm going to have this, like, God, like at this point of my day. If you need it in the morning to set up your whole day, or if you prefer it at night, you just have to make a routine of when you're going to do something.
Yep.
And even have like a friend, like even build a routine with a friend and keep each other accountable. but it's like doing it though. That's the problem. Like people will like ask, but they never do it.
Yeah.
So for me, it was building a routine that was like I got all my stuff together. Like, okay, here's all the crap that I gotta do. Okay, how can I also fit in this? Because at the end of the day, that's having a relationship with Jesus is all that matters. All this other stuff, it's just the flesh. Even like what we love to do, like you love to do your podcast stuff, like I love to do mine, but it's like at the end of the day, this is really important too. Like this is above that, right?
Yep.
There's no ups and downs.
Everything else is
You know,
added.
yeah,
It's added stuff.
yeah. And there's nothing wrong with doing that stuff.
Yeah.
But like I said, what I came to understand to make sure I do fit in time for that is having a routine. And like I said, I still have days where I make the choice not to go into the word. 100%. I have those days. Like I am, like I said, I'm not perfect at all. Like believe me, I feel like I'm just like nowhere near, like, I don't know, not a perfect Christian, or I don't know how to describe it, but like, listen, we are all in a journey, and it's just important. Like for me, like I understand that, like, man, like he is my Lord and Savior. I'm nothing without him. Like he is the bread and wine, you know, like that is just the, like, my understanding now, and I fully believe it.
Yeah. And
right.
Something I've learned, and I'm sure you already know this too,
yeah,
is that motivation is not reliable. Like one day you're gonna wake up in the middle of the night and be like, all right, I'm gonna do all this tomorrow. I'm gonna set all these plans up.
Oh my gosh, is that your light?
Yeah.
Oh shoot,
that's gonna be on Instagram tomorrow.
The clip, there we go.
As I'm talking about life being all set up.
Hey,
look. Well,
Jesus' light just came in, bro.
Hey,
I see it right now. You can fix it real quick if you want.
All right. Anyways, what I was saying is, hold on, there we go. Motivation's gonna come and go, right? It's not gonna stay.
Yeah.
It's not reliable. But what is discipline. So if you teach yourself, and it starts with one day at a time, right? If you teach yourself to do something over and over again, it's gonna become a habit, like you were saying earlier. Yeah. But if you just rely on feeling like it, it's not going to become anything.
I hate to say it, but this truth is going to hurt. Like,
truth hurts.
Listen, if you go off of feelings, you're going to lose at life.
Yeah.
Like it hurts, and it is an opinion at the end of the day. But that's just what I believe, and that's just, you know, even if you have God in your life, right? If you have the feeling of like, oh, I'm just not gonna, I don't feel like it. I don't feel like going in the Word. I don't feel like having a conversation. You're gonna lose, and that's where the devil wins. And that's where the devil, you know, he's telling you like, oh, like, no, you're tired. Oh, you're this and that. Like, that's where discipline comes into play. You know, and also just if you had enough of whatever you're going through, like, all right, I haven't enough. Like, I'm doing this. I don't care what my mind tells me. Shout out David Goggins.
Yeah.
Stay hard.
But you know, I think it's biblical what you just said. Feelings are in Jeremiah, I think it's, let me look. Jeremiah 17 verse 9 says the heart is deceitful above all things, because how we feel changes so much, you know? Feelings change, so they're not reliable, and I think we can't think on emotions. It's got to be about, you know, common sense. So yeah,
absolutely.
It's definitely a daily thing though. Like I'm saying, we got to really make a routine to do it, or else if you feel like you're going to do it, then you'll do it one day. The next day, you're not going to feel like it. It's just, that's 100%. How life is. Even with working out and stuff. If I only worked out when I felt like it, I would never go to the gym.
Dude, all of us, man. Because like right now, so I'm in a spot where, like since my injury happened, I definitely did put on a lot of baby weight, right? We lost some of it, but now my issue is like, okay, it's not just the gym, because the gym's like 15% of it, like of how you look physically. It's also, the 85% of his diet, right?
Eating, yeah.
Like eating is like, bro, like, I just love, like, you know, the burgers, the pizza. Like, I just love that stuff. And like, that's the stuff. What I mean, it's like
everything in moderation.
Dude, it's a drug, bro. Like even like fast food, especially, man. Like they put so much garbage in that, it is a drug and it hooks you on.
Yeah.
Like even sugar, like sugar is not meant, especially fake sugar, like processed sugar.
Artificial
I'm not talking
sweetener.
about fruits. No, I'm not talking about fruits. Like that's fine, but unnatural processed sugar is
Mm.
an addicting drug that is really hurting people's health.
Yeah.
It's excuse me, it's really bad. Like it's terrible, man.
I believe it.
But yeah, you know, it's a lot, man. I'll tell you what. There's, you know, it's good to like talk with people, like how we're, you know, even though this is a podcast, but we're still
No,
having a
it's just a
conversation.
conversation.
Yeah, it's important to talk to people about this stuff. Like I personally, I have a therapist. Talk to him once, maybe every other week. But all I do is just kind of vent, right? But also, you need to talk to God. Like that is, I mean, you have to make time for it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're not gonna feel at ease. You know, like believe me, life is hard. Like you're gonna have moments where you feel like garbage, and where you are in a garbage state of mind because of what life brings at you, right?
Yeah.
You know, financial, you know, mentally, physically, emotionally, even spiritually. Like it's gonna hit you hard. But if you have Jesus in your life, you can easily overcome that. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, not easily, but you can overcome it because nothing's easy. I want to make that clear.
Yeah.
But it is overcomable.
He has, and the thing about it is Jesus has already overcome it. It's just
Yeah.
our willingness to accept him and his plans. Because look, when we like, if you're really living to, you know, a good life, if you're living with the right intentions and you really believe Jesus is your savior and you want what he wants for your life, he's not gonna be mad at you. Like that's talking to God. People are intimidated, but God just wants to hear your heart. It's just about
absolutely.
your heart. We're all gonna mess up, but that's why Jesus had to come. So now it's about going to God and being open and saying, you know, this is me. I'm broken and I need you.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely, man.
yeah, well, man, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah.
I do want to ask you, where can they find you? Your podcast, your personal stuff. Where can they find you?
Yeah, so my IG page is, you know, Taso Kesgiropoulos. Lots of spell.
I'll put it on the screen.
Yeah, KESGIROPOULOS, and then Taso is TASO.
All right.
But that's or you know, you can go to my podcast's page on the Pitch Pod. It's on Instagram, TikTok. What else is on YouTube? I still need to get on X or, you know, Twitter. I need to get on Facebook because I'll tell you what, Facebook's a gold mine. So, you know, it's a sleeper.
Maybe I should do that too.
No, yeah, I gotta still do it. It's like, all right, I want it. You know, what I'm saying, oh, I'm gonna do it. No, I'm gonna do it. Never gets done.
Right.
But yeah, you can find me there, and then yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, that's where you can find me.
All right, last word for you. What do you want to say to the viewers?
What do I want to say to the viewers?
Yep.
Take everything in life with a grain of salt. No feeling lasts forever. It is a feeling. It's nothing permanent. And you know, a simple way to get back into any relationship with God is just saying, "Yo, what's up, bro?"
I love it.
just, you know, just
right,
like, yeah.
Let's leave it at that. That's perfect. All right. I will see you soon. Thank you guys for watching this one. Tasso, we got to hang out soon, man.
Yes, for sure. Let's do it. Let's go to the gym.
Yeah, let's do it. All right, guys. Thanks for coming and watching this one. See you next Saturday, and peace.